something. So we are going to be talking today about weekends. And one of the things that I know that I struggled with personally through the 1,000 attempts that I tried to lose weight was just figuring out the weekends. They always seem to mystify me. I didn't understand why I could do so good all week long, only to just jack up my weekends like a boss. So I wanted to talk about that today. And we are also going to, if you want, answer questions. So at the very end, when I get done teaching you about weekends, if you have a question about weight loss, specifically if it pertains to the weekends, ask away, because that's what we're going to talk about today. All right. So let's start with why we have problems on the weekends. This is one of the things that I watch my clients do all the time inside the No BS weight loss program, which is they have really good intentions for weight loss, especially on Mondays. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Most of us are going in every Monday going I'm going to get for real. This is the week it's going to change. Sometimes we have a big ass Last Supper on Sunday because we mistakenly think that on Monday we're going to wake up, and if I just eat all the food on Sunday, if I get it all out of my system, I have a last hurrah, somehow I'm going to wake up tomorrow and that food will be out of my system. I'm just going to be so highly motivated. I've taken away all my triggers. We con ourselves all the time into this, we call it a friend of mine who has an amazing podcast called Unfuck Your Brain, Cara Lowenthal. She calls it our perfectionistic fantasy or tomorrow thinking. So the perfectionist in us thinks that if we just reset the slate, do it all over again, that then we can aim for perfection. And then the tomorrow thinker of us is cheering us on. She's oh yeah, girl, tomorrow's going to be better. Tomorrow you're going to feel like it. Tomorrow you're going to be motivated. Tomorrow, you've gotten rid of all the things. Tomorrow is always better. But here's the problem. Perfectionistic thinking compiled with tomorrow thinking is such a fallacy. Number one, think about how many times you've tried that and did it ever work? No. Sometimes you can string along a few weeks, maybe even a month, maybe even 2. But at some point, it all falls apart. Typically what happens, though, the most common pattern is I think this almost every day. I'm starting the day off good and I'm ending the day telling myself tomorrow will be better. Let's get it out of our system. It's okay. There's relief in thinking. And this is the reason why we do it. Because the reason I want to explain this pertaining to weekends is because we are not thinking these things because we're broken, something's wrong with us, for any of those reasons. We literally are doing this because there is some relief in thinking there's a better version of me. Tomorrow I will be better. It offers relief that right now you can just cave to your emotions, your immediate whims and desires, but that tomorrow you're going to be stronger. You're going to be better. You're going to be more equipped. Something magical is going to happen and it's just all going to fall into place. And then that feels aspirational and that feels hopeful. That is why we get caught in that loop. It's not because something's wrong with you. It's not because you're no good at losing weight. It's not because you're a fuck up. It's not for any reason other than that type of thinking feels good. And then on top of that thinking, feeling hopeful, relieving and stuff, guess what? We add food on top and then we get the dopamine, we get the chemical effect, and our brain is just this is like cotton candy. This is the best thing ever. I want to think more like this so that I can get some food. And then it creates a desire and a craving for that thinking. Now, the reason why I bring it up is because number one, I don't want you beating yourself up over that stuff. But number two is we have to be alert to the pattern, because the only way to change the pattern is to know this is my brain thinking that tomorrow I'm going to wake up a different person who's no longer triggered, no longer tempted. She's going to have more willpower. She's going to have something this girl doesn't have. And what the truth is that none of us change overnight. None of us. We change over time by making incremental shifts and incremental changes into how we're showing up, but we never change overnight. And in that moment, when we start having that loop, we want to tell ourselves, this is not true. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to be the same person. The same person, which means if I eat all this food now, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow suddenly being someone who's not tempted by this anymore. I'm not going to be someone who doesn't want to do this anymore. So if that's the case, what can I do right now that's different than I usually do? And this is where a perfectionist also goes wrong. Very often the perfectionist will say things like, oh, well, I just won't eat. If you've been eating your face off every Sunday night because you donk weekends, I'm going to tell you right now, saying that I'm just not going to do that is probably not going to work. 90% of us will fail if we are going from binging, last suppering on a Sunday to doing none of it on a Sunday. You might be able to do it for a Sunday or two, but that behavior is not extinguished yet, especially if you're having to force yourself. Because I want you to think about the reason why your brain loves tomorrow thinking and why your brain loves the perfectionistic thinking. It feels good. It's aspirational. It offers relief. What most of us try to do is we try to end the behavior suddenly, dead stop on a Sunday by telling ourselves, you can't do that. You know, Corinne said that's a shitty way to end the weekend. We give ourselves a lot of thinking that doesn't replace the good thinking. We replace it with harsh willpower, force, restriction. It's so unfair that I don't get to eat this. I'm going to have to start a diet tomorrow. We talk about it so excruciatingly. And then we wonder why our brain is like, damn, that feels like shit. Like we were like having a legit party 2 weeks ago when I was telling you all about this better person you're going to be. And then you were to eat some Oreos and then you'd wash it down with some chips and some dew. So we have to be aware of all this. So the answer is you have to figure out for the weekends, how are we going to just do and think things through differently that feels aspirational, it feels hopeful, that offers some relief. So I've got 4 things that we can think about when we're talking about our summer weekends or any weekend for that matter. And how do you have weekends and how do you have fun in the summer? How do you go on vacations and just not gain weight? And I think so much of it starts with figuring out your weekends. So many of us do well during the week. Not all of us, but a lot of us, we do pretty good during the week. And then by the weekend, it's like we wake up and we're just like, what the fuck happened? Like, why was I doing so good? And then suddenly the wheels just flew right off my bus. So here are the 4 things. The first thing you can do before you go into the weekend is I'm a big believer. Hang on. My iPad's asking me, can I trust my own computer? I want you to get out your your journal. Mine happens to be in my iPad. And I want you to write about your Monday version of you. I want you to think about, how does she want to wake up Monday morning? What does she want to reflect upon? Like she wants to look at her weekend and think, these are the things that I did well. She wants to wake up and be proud. She wants to wake up and not be bloated from eating all weekend. So one of the first things we have to do is when we go into the weekend, so many of us do this. We start thinking about how good we've been, and we start thinking about, I deserve it. I need a treat. I just need a break. A little won't hurt. Our excuses come in, and we spend our time thinking about the weekend, and we think about the food we're going to eat. And we think about how we deserve it. This is what I need you to switch. I need you to start the weekend not thinking about everything you're going to eat. I want you to start the weekend thinking about, how you want to feel Monday morning. What is important about Monday morning to you? You'd like to wake up feeling this way, thinking these things, being proud of, instead of spending so much time thinking about what you can get away with, what won't hurt, how hard weekends are. I need you to stop focusing so much there. You've been doing that for years and it's not working. So when you catch yourself doing it, I want you to think about, before I indulge in thinking about what I can't do this weekend, how much of a break I need, a little won't hurt, let me spend time with Monday morning me. And Monday morning me, who finished the weekend proud, she's thinking these things, she did these things, all of that. Now, step 2 is, once you've decided how you want to be on Monday morning, the next thing we have to do is we have to think about, what did we do to make that happen? And this is where I'm different than most diets. Most diets are going to just say, like, you're just going to do your normal plan, and then you can have a cheat meal or, something along those lines. I don't want you thinking that way. I also don't want you thinking, well, how I did it was every time I wanted something, I told myself no. It would be great if we could all just tell ourselves no, and that'd be the easiest thing ever. But for most of us, the reason why we're eating our face off on the weekends or going off track on the weekends is because telling ourselves no is not energetic enough. Often telling ourselves no, on the other side of the no, is no because. Like if you were just saying, that's a no, I'm not going to have seconds. And it was literally just like, I'm not going to have seconds. And it was boring like that, you would be fine. But here's what's really happening in your brain. I'm going to say no to seconds because if I say yes, I'll blow it. I'll say no because if I eat this, I'm going to gain all kinds of weight. It means I can't lose weight. So much of what is behind the no is fears, doubts, and a lot of tearing ourselves down. And y'all, we don't want to mess with that. We don't want to do that. So what we want to do is we want to think about, what did I do differently this weekend? What were the small changes I made? If I tell myself no, what is a good reason for it? Why is that the best thing for me? Why is that more than fair? Why is that more fair to tell myself no than it is unfair to tell myself no? Why is no, like, what is it going to do for me instead of what is it going to take away from me? And then I want you to just think about, like, there's these little things that I do that are different. There's these things that I tell myself all weekend. Here are the problems I'm likely to run up on this weekend. And here's what I want to remind myself in the moment. So let's say you have last minute plans. It's the summer. There's a freaking barbecue suddenly happening at the neighbor's house, and they've got the pool, and they got cornhole, and they got the best music on the block. You're invited, and it's literally a barbecue, coleslaw, mashed potato, baked bean, homemade pie festival. And you are like, I did not plan any of this. Oh my God, I am trying to lose weight. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to say no to the party. I want you to decide, how can I go to this party and still wake up Monday morning proud? When I go to this party, what do I want to say no to at the party that strengthens my relationship with food, leaves me walking out of there proud, helps me feel like I'm included? Like, I want you to think about things in a new way. The biggest problem that I see in the diet industry right now is y'all are getting thousands and thousands and thousands of tactics thrown at you left and right. None of you need more tactics. None of you need to be told what food is good and bad anymore. I'm going to tell all of you, none of the food is bad and none of the food is good. You just have food options. and you have decisions on whether or not you're going to eat them, and you'll have reasons. But I promise all of you, I have worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of women to help them lose weight. So many are losing weight just listening to this one little free broadcast a month. And I never tell people what's good and bad to eat. That means you don't need to focus anymore on like, should I have bread or not, or the right combinations. The diet industry has warped us on this. Do you know where weight loss happens? Weight loss happens in the tiny decisions. If you're eating baked beans, mashed potatoes, and barbecue, do you know what the biggest decision is? Not whether or not you've blown it eating some carbs. The best decision you make in that moment is, I'm going to have this. And as long as I don't overeat it, I'm good. The problem with my weight has always been when I eat food like this, it's not the food. The problem's been, I thought it was the food. The problem is the moment I start thinking the food's the problem, I go into fuck it mode, and then I eat all I can. I eat like this is the Last Supper. I eat like I'm never going to get another mashed potato again in my life. That's why I keep gaining weight. So it's not the food. It's not the potatoes. It's what I do with the potatoes, because I'm telling myself something's wrong with me and something's wrong with the food. And I'm going to tell all of you, I teach this all the time inside my private membership. We coach on this constantly. There are no good food and bad foods. You cannot afford to think that way. Because the moment you eat a food you've labeled bad, because the diet industry has taught you some horseshit, it is impossible for you not to internalize that as you are bad. This is why we can't afford to think that way, y'all. You may have health conditions, and this is always the argument I get. Look, Corinne, you don't know. I'm a diabetic. Look, Corinne, you don't know. I have celiac. People argue this with me all the time. It's like they're saying, you don't know about my menopause, my PCOS, my diabetes, my celiac. You don't know. Here's what I know. When you sit around and tell yourself you can't have certain foods, you feel like shit. And the more you feel like shit, the more likely you are to eat. Not eat shit, but overeat. If you have any of those conditions, stop saying I can't have. You know what your option is? I choose not to eat these foods because I prioritize my health above having an orgasm in my mouth because I like cake. I'm learning to have a life that's made up more than just what I'm putting in my mouth. You could be thinking those things. So nobody try to argue with me and justify that you should sit around and think about all the things that you can't do, because all that does is leave you feeling like shit. If you have a medical condition, why do you want to feel sorry for yourself on top? Ask yourself that. Like, why would I want to feel sorry for myself? Why not feel proud of myself that I'm going to do things to help me? Why not feel hopeful that there are decisions I can make about food and that I can get to live in my life? Why not think I have a life? A lot of people don't. There will be people today that will cash in all the chips of life today. You won't be one of them. This is why it's so important for us to always be thinking about, when it comes to weight loss, it is 1,000 times more imperative and important that you think about what you're thinking about before you eat than it is what you're actually putting in your mouth. Because whatever the story is that you keep telling yourself around the food completely dictates how much food you'll eat, if you'll continue to try, if you'll quit, whether or not you're going to give up or level up yourself. You have to quit trying diets that only focus on your calories, your macros, and which food you can't have. This shit does not work. If it did, they'd all have better track records. Every one of them. And this is the thing. I watch people all the time do all kinds of diets that do not help you feel better about yourself, think better, safer thoughts around food, teach you how to take authority over your life versus always feeling like it's the effect of everything. When they're not teaching that, you lose weight and you fear you'll gain it back. You're afraid to reintroduce foods. You're worried when the other shoe will drop. Every little pound that moves on the scale freaks you out. No one wants to lose weight to live in a paranoid state. And yet the diet industry, when they fail to teach us about our mindset, guess what they do? They set us up to lose our weight. We may like the way we look. We may be proud that we've lost weight, but we're paranoid as fuck around everything. They didn't help us change how we think. You deserve to feel amazing, and you deserve to feel good, and you deserve to feel confident about being able to keep your weight off when you lose it. It's not enough to just like the pant size. It's not enough to just be proud that your ass shrunk. We want to lose weight in a way that when it comes off, we feel confident that we will keep it off. Okay, so let's go back to the weekends. I'm kind of getting off on the tangents here because I really feel like mindset is key. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about Monday morning us. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to think about, what do I need to do to make this shit happen this weekend? The third thing that we're going to do is anything that we think I can't do, is impossible, is too hard. I want you to do this. I want you to ask yourself, is it really true? Like, I want you to argue with yourself as to why some of your automatic thoughts about why things, what you can't do, what will be hard, all this other stuff. I want you to argue like you are in a court of law and you're the opposing lawyer. And I want you to argue for the alternate. It doesn't mean you're going to believe it, but we have to get used to thinking about why we can't do things. We have to train our brain that there's a whole nother way to tell the story. Whether or not you believe it, whether or not you act on it or not, is irrelevant. What truly matters is showing your brain, I've got my pity party and I got my success story over here. Both are true. Which one do I want to go with? Which one do I want to show up with? That's what really matters. Then the last thing that I want you to do is I want you to look at like your weekend, and I just want you to make some plans. I want you to plan out what you're going to eat, where you're going to go, who you're going to be with, but I don't want you to just plan the food. I want you to think a little bit beyond the food. So many of us were just planning the weekend based on all of the party, all of the like things we're going to do. And then we say like, oh, so there's no way I could follow a food plan. I'm just going to try to do good this weekend. And that's my plan. I always call it snorting hopium. It's like hopium is a really hard way to lose weight. The other side of it is we try to overly plan and we don't put any fun in there. We don't do anything. We cut out our social circle. So all I want you to do is I want you to plan the weekend, and I want you to plan it from a couple of different angles. These are the things I'm going to eat. And I want you to make sure that you have something on there that's fucking fun. Like that you enjoy. I want you to do that for yourself. Then I want you to plan what else is going to be fun this weekend besides the food. So if you're going out to eat or you're going to a party or you're doing anything like that, what other things am I putting on my schedule on the weekends that satisfy my truest needs? And you just ask yourself, like, what is it that I most want out of the weekend? Most of us are going in the weekend because we want to relax. We want to have fun. We want to relax. We just want to take it easy. There's all kinds of reasons we go into the weekend. And unfortunately, what we do is we associate all of that with the food. I want you to plan your weekend beyond just the food. I want you to think about, am I including some of the things I most need, that I most want out of this weekend? How am I getting that without food? That is one of the surefire ways to make sure that your weekends start changing for the better. So we are going to think about Monday morning us before we go into the weekend. Then we're going to figure out, like, how did she get there? What did she say yes to? What did she say no to? What was she thinking and feeling? What are all the positives? Like, I really want you to think about all the little decisions that you can make. Number 3, we're going to ask ourselves about the truth of the weekend. Like, the things that we tell ourselves that we can't do, that are hard for us and stuff. I want you to really argue the other side of the story. Why is this not so hard? What could I be making easier? Why can I be more successful this weekend? What's working in my favor? I want you to do that work. And then the last thing is I want you to have more than just like food plans for the weekend. I want you to think about, what is it I most want out of the weekends? I most want to feel what things? And am I including those things in my weekend outside of food? If not, I should probably start there. Rather than working so hard on trying to figure out how I'm going to get all these feelings from food, I should probably work really hard on figuring out how I'm going to get these feelings from my life. All right, let's do some questions. If you have any questions, you can pop them over into the Q&A right now. And then one of the things, it looks like someone was saying, she's not saying you can't have a medical condition. She is saying, don't let it run your life. Stop living with excuses. Exactly. Y'all, I coach women. She's also saying to stop feeling sorry for yourself if you're on a restricted diet. No one is on a restricted diet for medical reasons. I love, Jane, that you're helping pull some of these points out, but let me just say this. A lot of people think that when, so right now I'm working with someone, one of my members, every so often we give away prizes in my membership all the time. So like if you complete certain challenges and stuff, you get entered for prizes. So one of my members, she won a month of private coaching with me. And we've been working back. She's got my text number. We do a phone call each week. And she has had diabetes. And so we have been working on her mindset around food, because she is following a food plan that's helping her get off her diabetes meds. That's helping her like reverse it. She also has another condition. I don't want to like say all of her stuff. She wouldn't mind me sharing the diabetes, but the rest of it, that's her business. And I'm not going to put it out there, but I will say this. She has another condition and we've been working on her mindset around that. It would be really easy for someone with cancer, someone with diabetes, someone with celiac to talk about being on a very restricted diet because of a medical diagnosis. So many of us would be like, God's honest truth right there. That's the way it's supposed to be described. Just because you can Google something, or just because a doctor said it was a restrictive diet or whatever, doesn't mean that it's a useful way for you to think about it for yourself. So often what happens is like people will say, like when they hear that, they automatically feel restricted. They feel like things are unfair. They feel like they can't live their life. And that is not true. Here is another way to think about it. I'm going to eat these foods because I value my life. I'm learning to eat these foods and learning how to be at peace without other ones because my life is so valuable. I'm learning how to let go of some foods and embrace others because my health matters to me. I want all of you to sit there and think about that want to argue with me about thinking like shit about a diet that you might have to do. I do have tons of clients that need to follow certain diets in order to not just lose weight, but because their health matters. If you like, I have my sister-in-law, her mother has celiac disease, and it is very painful to eat any kind of gluten, like hospitalization time. Her body has a visceral reaction to it. She does not sit around and think about being restricted and how unfair it is that she can't have cake. Since day one, she flipped on a dime. She almost died. They almost gave up on her. And this was years ago, before celiac was a big thing, until they figured out what was going on. And the moment they told her that if she got rid of gluten completely in her diet, that she could live another 30, 40 years, that was her new thought. She never once was like, I'm so restricted. I've got a diagnosis. So I'm going to have, like, it's unfair. Everybody else gets to eat. She did not do that to herself. She chose to be grateful that she had something that she could do to extend her life. This is like, that is not easy work, but I will tell you, it's the work of our lifetime. Wouldn't you rather sit around and learn how to feel grateful that there are things you can do for your health than to sit around and think about how unfair it is that you can't eat certain foods, how shitty your disease is? I'm not saying we're not going to feel bad about it. It's normal to feel bad about it. But when all you do is feel bad about it, when it consumes you, it's time to start working on having a different mindset for your sake. None of us are going to feel any better with your mindset, but you deserve to feel better. You deserve a better life. And these are the important conversations that the diet industry is not having with us. All right. I've been listening to the podcast for about a year and I love it. I've never been on any kind of a specific diet. I retired early, finding myself bored and eating too much and gaining weight. After listening to the podcast, I lost 23 pounds until my 24-year-old son was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm starting to go back up. Sadness has made me turn to food. So sadness hasn't made you turn to food. What has happened is, as of right now, you don't have any other way to deal with your sadness other than to eat. It's not making you do it. I just want you to think about the difference between this thinking, Sharon, is sadness is making me turn to food. Boredom made me turn to food. No feeling can make you turn to food. Some of us have feelings that the only way we currently know how to deal with them is by eating. No one has told us new ways to deal with our sadness. No one has helped us process what's going on for us. We're so afraid, like usually underneath sadness, if there's eating, like in this case, it's probably fear that he will die. So it's a lot easier to eat than it is to sit and think about, like, what if he does? What if he doesn't? I think it's normal. And this is the other thing. A lot of times when we have feelings, hopefully this will help you. One of the reasons why so many of us end up eating when we're sad is because we judge ourselves for being sad. We'll say things like, I shouldn't be sad. Like, I should be grateful he's here. If you're doing that, if any of you are doing, I shouldn't feel this way, I should be this way, that's always going to feel terrible. That's like, all right, not only do I already feel sad, but now I'm judging myself and I'm being an ass to myself. It's like I'm admonishing myself for having normal feelings. The other thing that we do is, like, when sadness comes in, we will say things like, I don't know how to deal with it. I don't want to feel this way. And this is what I always want to say to y'all. A lot of times when we're sad, and this is what we do a lot more of inside the membership. And Sharon, if you're one of our members, I would invite you to at least listen to module 2. And then you may want to also take the relationships course, because right now it'd probably be a really good time for you to do the relationships course for the relationship with your son. It will help you see things in a new light. So when we think, I don't want to feel this, I just like Sharon, I want you to ask yourself, because I want you to say, I wouldn't mind feeling sad if I knew how. Right now, I really don't know how. The moment I start feeling sad, I go and eat. There's something about the sadness that I think is wrong, or I can't handle, or I can't tolerate. And almost always that is not true. If you start feeling sad for your son and you were to start crying, I have a feeling eventually you'd quit crying. You'd feel some relief. You'd feel some compassion for yourself. And then you would probably talk to your son. One of the big things about feelings is a lot of times we think they're never going to end. Unless you have a diagnosed like issue with depression and stuff. I'm not talking about people who are clinically in pain right now. The vast majority of us have just never been taught that feelings are normal, that it's okay to feel sad. If my son was diagnosed with cancer, my son just has autism, and I still feel sad sometimes. And I just tell myself, that's normal. Mothers feel sad about stuff like that. Instead of saying, I don't want to be sad, I tell myself, it is normal. This is just one of those times where you're sad and it's okay. Then I feel relief that I'm not judging myself. Then I feel compassion for me as a mother. When we do that part, we don't need to eat. A lot of times when we're eating through some of our emotions, y'all, it has more to do with we're thinking we shouldn't feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I can't tolerate feeling this way. And I just want to tell all of you, feeling your feelings is not nearly as scary as spending the rest of your life running from them. So many of us are trading, spending our entire life, never getting what we want, always feeling bad about ourselves, running from our emotions, regretting because we ate over them. We spend our entire life doing that when all we really needed was like a fucking good cry in the bed. All right. Somebody said, how can I sit in discomfort? So this term gets thrown around a lot of times. You got to sit in the discomfort. Y'all, I'm just going to tell you, I rarely tell anybody to sit in discomfort anymore, because guess what? Even the words sit in discomfort feels like shit. Everybody's like, why would I want to do that? Here's what I usually tell people. I want you to figure out why you're uncomfortable. So many of us don't need to sit in discomfort. You know what we need to be doing? We don't understand why we're in discomfort to begin with. And 80% of the reason why we're sitting there has to do with I'm judging myself. I'm being an ass to myself. I'm sitting there judging everybody else. I'm wishing for things. I'm regretting my past. I'm worrying. So many of us are like, teach me how to do all that. No. Here's what I want to do. I want to make sure that whatever discomfort you're having is legit first. So many of us have so much illegitimate discomfort. It's unreal. And we're like being told by people to sit in it. I don't think you want to sit in it. Here's what I think you want to do. You want to investigate your discomfort. Why am I uncomfortable right now? What's wrong, honey? What's going on? And it's usually like, just let your brain say whatever it is. And then it's like, okay. And what is my opinion about that? Because it's the way we think that's causing so much of our discomfort. It's not actual things. Just like, let's take the restricted diet. If let's say you get diagnosed with diabetes and you're told you got to cut all the sugar out, like your diabetes is a runaway freight train right now. And if you eat one more gram of sugar, your insulin's going to explode, whatever. So a lot of you are like, well, I'm going to sit through the discomfort. because you're sitting there and you're thinking, this is unfair. This sucks. I did this to myself. I shouldn't ate like an asshole all those years. I do not want you sitting in that discomfort. The discomfort's not coming from not having sugar. The discomfort is coming from how you're talking about not having that sugar. That's elevated discomfort. That's just brutal. What I want you to do is I want you to tell a whole new story so that all you're doing is working on not having sugar. That's it. Now, if you follow me, you know I do not teach my members to give up sugar at all. I want you eating all the foods unless you have a medical reason where eating all the foods is not going to work for you. And that you are more interested in like, here's what I got to do, Corinne. I got to make peace that I'm going to live a long time. I need to make peace with myself that my life is more valuable than what I'm putting in my mouth right now. I need to make peace with the idea that this is not unfair. There is a solution staring me in the face. What would be unfair is if someone told me there's nothing we can do about it. You're a lost cause and you're dying in 3 days. I would be like, girl, feel unfair all day long. Short of that, it's not unfair. There's called a solution for you. That's more than fair. That's amazing. So we have to think differently. All right. Why do I eat in secret? I always find myself sneaking food when my husband is around and then complain that I can't lose weight. When we eat in secret, it's usually because at some point in our life, we have been taught that there are certain foods that are good and certain foods that are bad. And so what we end up doing is if we're going to eat bad foods, who would want to eat bad foods in front of other people? Anything that you are ashamed of, you will do in secret. So if you think eating certain foods is bad, you're going to want to eat them in secret. You're not going to want to eat them in front of people. This is why it's so important that so many of you join my program, because we teach you how to unlearn that stupid fuckery. We have been taught by the diet industry for years. It's like we were just joking around the other day. I was talking to somebody about, like, I did LA weight loss back in the day. And they had, like, the approved foods that you could have, and then you could have the bars. And then I went through I went through a phase where we did all the low fat stuff. I remember going to the salad bar and my mom saying, don't get eggs. They're just loaded with fat. Eggs. They made eggs bad. Now I could put as much sugar-free Jell-O and sugar-free dressing on stuff as I wanted. I could eat Snackwell cookies. Anything that was zero fat, fat-free, you could have that. But a fucking egg, yeah, that's why I was so overweight. I had an egg problem. Said no one ever. So what we want to do is we want to unwind like our mental constructs around good food, bad food, because if you have assignments to food that this is good, this is bad, this is clean, this is dirty, I just want you to look at how pervasive morality, like who we are as a person, is tied into food. None of you are going to hell because of your food logs. The last time I checked in the Bible, we ain't going to go to the pearly gates and they're going to be like, please turn over your food logs for the last, for your entire life. I want to see, did you eat more good foods or bad foods? That is not the indicator of the quality of your soul. Just saying. So we have to quit doing this to ourselves, because the problem becomes every decade, a new fabulous diet comes out that tells you what's good and what's bad, what's clean and what's dirty, what's healthy and what's junky. Ever noticed that certain foods are demonized? So you got keto, now we are, you go high protein, high fat. We had our low fat days. Now it's all like vegan, vegetarian. Now like meat's bad. It's like, oh my God. If you follow diet books over the years, you're fucked in the head. And we got to unwind all of those rules, because at the end of the day, this is not why we're overweight. I promise all of you, the reason why weight is a problem for, I would say, 99% of my members, it is I eat when I'm stressed because I don't know how to deal with stress. I eat when I feel like things are unfair because I don't know how to set boundaries. I don't know how to tell people no. I feel like I'm going to be a bitch. I eat at night because if I take a break after working all day on top of taking care of kids and stuff, and the second everybody goes to bed, I don't know how to relax without feeling guilty. So I'm going to eat so I don't have to feel guilty so that I can relax. It's the only way I know how. We're overweight because of the reasons why we're eating. The choices that we're making, all of them have reasons. And when we uncover the reasons and we untangle all of it and we learn how to think differently around all of it, guess what we do? We end up taking away the need to overeat. If you want to, and this is my thing, I tell people all the time, if you want to eat salads and stuff, I want you eating those types of foods. I want you learning how to include more of those foods, but not because they're better or they make you a better person, but because you're spending so much time figuring out the kind of life you want for yourself, how long you'd like to live, the type of poops you want to have, the how much heartburn you're willing to deal with in your 60s and 70s when you go to bed, the types of achy joints you want as you get older. There's 1,000 reasons to construct your food the way you do, other than it's good or bad. It'll help me lose weight or it won't. We have to think bigger and better when it comes to weight loss. That is why I do what I do. I want to be at least the one voice out there that is saying there is a better way. There is a way that we can lose our weight and we can like ourselves. We can change everything and we don't have to feel restricted. We don't have to feel punished. I just don't want anyone losing their weight ever again. And at the end of the day, they're like, I am a smaller version of the people pleaser, the worrier, the person who fears foods, who doesn't trust themselves around certain things. I don't want you to be a smaller version of that person. I promise all of you, it sucks. I did it so many times until the last time I lost weight. And that's why I decided to help people. Because the last time I lost weight, here's what I figured out. It was the first time I lost weight and I liked me. I wasn't afraid of foods. I felt confident that for the first time in my life, I knew how to live it. I knew how to love my life. I had bigger reasons. I had bigger whys behind why I wanted to take care of myself other than just small pants, what society says I need to do to myself. All right, let's see what else. You mentioned not counting calories and macros, but we still need a balance of protein, etc. Correct? I mean, yeah, but I will just tell you, most of y'all are wanting to worry about that shit and not worry about why you're eating in the first place. I'm going to tell you right now, when I lost my weight, I didn't count a calorie. I didn't count a macro. I didn't do that stuff. You know why? I did not need to know how many proteins I was eating in a day. What I really needed to know was, why was I ending the day feeling like ice cream was the only way to feel better? I need to figure out, why is it when I go out to eat, I eat my face off as if it was the last time I was ever fucking going to the Outback? I needed to figure out how I was going to start asking for help in my life when I was too ashamed. I will tell you, one of the reasons why I'd gotten all the way up to 250 again for the 100th time is because I'd had a kid. He was a year old. And I didn't have a job. First time in my life that I wasn't working. I was taking care of my baby. And I had so much shame around being exhausted, it overwhelming me not loving it. I didn't want to have to ask for it. I just thought it was so unfair. Like I always said, I don't do anything all day. Then when my husband would come home from work, I was so riddled with shame and guilt for asking him for help that I ate. I didn't need to know anything about macros or proteins. Not a lick. I didn't need to know about my calories. A lick. I needed to know why I felt so ashamed to ask for help. Why I thought it was wrong to ask my husband who loves me and my child to help me figure this out. I needed to be compassionate with myself that no, not every mother loves every moment of their baby's life, especially the first year, the hard year. I was overwhelmed with change, but in my mind, I should have been like everybody else. I need to work on that. I did not need to work on macros. I did not need to work on protein. And I promise most of you, there are so many emotional things you need to work on around your food that calories and macros and protein are the least of your worries. And here's how I know, because a lot of you keep trying to do that. You're like, I'm going to hire one more trainer who's going to give me my perfect macros and my whole life is going to be blah, 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 blah. And guess what? You get that plan and it's great until the first day you have a bad day. The first time your boss acts like an asshole. The first time your mother calls and says something that you don't like. The first time your husband's got to work late, or your wife is like, I'm going to take a nap on the weekends, when all you want to do is take a nap yourself. But you feel too bad about asking her if you can take a nap. Like, we need to clean all that up. You get all that done. You get to where you are no longer triggered to eat, thinking your feelings make you eat, people make you eat. When you get out of all of that and you're like, I'm really good about doing the things I say I'm going to do, then if you want to like worry about the proteins and the macros and everything, you're set up for that success. Otherwise, you're saying, I'm going to follow this external rule while not changing a damn thing internally to support it. And those things don't work. Does alcohol cause weight gain, or is it what you eat when you drink? I drink whiskey and water, and I'm told that that is the main reason I don't lose weight. So alcohol is treated by the body, it like somewhere between carbs and fat. So the way that just process wise, the body, when alcohol comes in, it thinks of it as a poison. It is. I mean, it's legit a poison to our body. Now, I'm not saying I don't drink. Corinne drinks. So let's just say that out loud. But to our body, alcohol is not needed. So it throws 7 calories per gram every single time you drink. And it has no benefit to your body. None. So it's just usually your body's like, I don't know what to do with it, so I'll just throw it into fat. Now, that does not mean that you can't drink, but alcohol is one of those things where I always tell my people, if you're going to drink and lose weight, you definitely need to plan it. You also need to make sure that you're not jackass eating because you are drinking. One of the first things that I clean up with my clients, like, plan your drinks, but we got to clean up you eating like an asshole afterward, because when your inhibitions come down, guess what? Your excuses to eat will sound sexy as fuck. It'll be like a Barry White album playing in the background. It will be really hard not to just want to like take off that bra. So we want to make sure that we develop the skill of being able to drink what we want to drink in the beginning and not eat. The second thing is figuring out, do we really want to drink and how much? So many of us will drink more than we need to fit in order to have a good time, in order to like all these things, to relax. And I just like to play around with, and I've been working on this for years with myself, which is alcohol doesn't make me fit in. Alcohol blunts how I'm thinking that makes me think I'm not fitting in. So wouldn't it be better rather than drinking to work on my self-concept? Alcohol doesn't make me connect with my husband. Alcohol shuts down any thoughts I'm having that get me disconnected from my husband. So wouldn't it be better if I worked on true, genuine feelings about him than to keep drinking, saying that's how we connect? So I just want y'all to play with that. We have a program inside of No BS for drinking. And it's not for alcoholics. It's literally, it's like mindful drinking and weight loss. How do you combine the two? And we do periodically do calls around it to coach people, because my people usually they're like, I don't want to give up drinking, but I want to lose weight. And I've got to find the balance there. And it's not just about like, do you put sweeteners in there or not? It's more about changing your relationship with alcohol to where you have it, but you don't need it anymore. And when I say need, I don't mean need like an alcoholic, but you don't need it to unwind, to have a good time, to fit in, to go out, those kinds of things. All right, let's take, we are over time. Good Lord. I had my glasses off, so I couldn't see. All right. If you'd like to join the No BS program, all you got to do is go to joinnobs.com. Our doors are open right now. I would highly encourage, if any of this resonated with you today, if you're just like, this emotional shit is really where I am not losing my weight. Like, I have tried all the diets and the diets have failed me. I am ready to really tackle the stuff that will enhance my life. I'm ready to tackle, like, I want to be the person who doesn't beat themselves up anymore. I want to be the person who learns how to not have to take all the foods out of her house. I want to be that person. If that's the kind of person you want to be and lose weight, then go to joinnobs.com. Join us right now. We are losing weight this summer and we are not turning back. So with that, I will see y'all next month. Y'all have a good one. Bye, y'all.